Across the span of human history, the pursuit of beauty has driven people to accept pain, risk their health, and sometimes even surrender their lives for the sake of conforming to prevailing ideals. From the gilded courts of ancient Egypt to the sunlit salons of 20th century America, beauty standards have inspired both ingenious cosmetic breakthroughs and profoundly dangerous practices. In this narration, we will journey through 7 of the most lethal beauty rituals ever embraced by our ancestors, uncovering the hidden cost they paid in flesh and fortune. Imagine walking along the bustling streets of Thebes 2 millennia before our era. Stone temples rise under a blazing sun, and beneath the shade of linen awnings, noble women and men display skin as pale and unblemished as freshly carved alabaster statues. To achieve this otherworldly translucence, they applied a thick paste known as milk of the pharaohs, a blend of white lead, ground galena, and fragrant animal fats. Every morning, servants coated faces and necks in slippery cream that lay half a millimeter thick over the skin. The result was a flawless complexion prized by the elite. Yet beneath its cosmetic allure lay a silent assassin, lead. Day after day, lead carbonate seeped through pores, lodging in the bloodstream and nerve fibers. Victims endured tremors, anemia, and a gradual mental decline so insidious that courtiers often dismissed it as mysterious pharaoh-esque curse. Nonetheless, social pressure and the fear of losing status compelled generations to continue this practice for over 1,000 years, until safer pigments finally emerged. Centuries later, as Europe awakened to the Renaissance, a similar hunger for pallor gripped noble circles. Pale skin had become a mark of leisure, an outward sign that one did not toil under the sun. Enter the arsenic complexion wafers, small cakes sold by apothecaries and touted as internal elixirs for perfect fairness. Women eagerly consumed these wafers, believing that the chalky arsenic trioxide and egg-white mixture would coax their skin into the coveted ivory tone. They endured burning throats, debilitating abdominal pains, and bouts of vomiting, all seen as tolerable side effects on the road to aristocratic beauty. Behind closed doors, chronic users experienced numbness in their extremities, progressing to neuropathy and paralysis. Yet the temple walls of Florence and the courts of France echoed with praises of flawless skin, and the social currency of pallor maintained demand for arsenic long after physicians warned of its deadly consequences. Meanwhile, in Elizabethan England, beauty took on a patchwork quality. Courtly ladies adorned their cheeks with tiny velvet mouches, decorative patches shaped like stars, hearts, or even crescent moons to conceal blemishes and boldly proclaim their sophistication. But the secret to their vibrant hues was a dye of mercury salts applied to the patch fabric to intensify color and fix it firmly in place. As these velvety dots adhered to the skin, mercury vapor slowly seeped into the bloodstream, imperceptibly corroding nerve endings. Over time, women developed erethism mercury-induced madness characterized by irritability, memory lapses, and uncontrollable tremors. Some aristocrats roamed the halls of Whitehall in increasingly erratic states, their beauty marking the early stages of neurological decay. By the Restoration period, fashion had moved on, but countless lives had already been irreversibly altered by one of history's most insidious heavy metals. Half a world away, in Imperial China, beauty standards demanded a kind of physical bondage. Starting as young as 4 years old, girls of the Han elite underwent the ritual of foot binding. Their feet were tightly wrapped in cloth, bending toes under the solace, and forcing the arch upward until the foot measured no more than 3 inches, a golden lotus. At first, the practice produced excruciating pain, broken bones, crushed toes, and ulcerating wounds that festered in stagnant bandages. Infections ran rampant. Tetanus and gangrene claimed many young lives. Survivors endured chronic pain, lifelong difficulty walking, and dependence on family members for even the simplest tasks. Yet bound feet symbolized purity, refinement, and marriageability. Mothers, fearing social ostracism, insisted on binding their daughters' feet, perpetuating the cycle of agony for over a millennium. Only in the early 20th century, after decades of reformist campaigns, did organized abolition efforts finally break the enduring hold of this brutal beauty rite. Back in Europe during the 19th century, a seemingly gentler fashion accessory would assert its own quiet tyranny. The corset, with its tightly laced whalebone and steel busks, promised women the era's ideal hourglass silhouette. But beneath the veneer of elegance, corsetry compressed ribs, displaced internal organs, and restricted breathing to half its natural capacity. Women fainted when they sneezed or tried to cough. Doctors recorded cases of chronic indigestion, spinal deformities, and even organ damage evident at autopsy. Despite warnings from medical professionals, corsets became emblematic of respectability and femininity. Ladies endured their pain, some even fainted on stage or in the street rather than relinquish the prized tight waist. Only the pragmatic uniforms and loose clothing of World War I hastened the corset's decline, revealing how fashion could mask systemic harm. In Edo period Japan, another toxic trend emerged, this time centered on hair. Married women styled their hair into the elaborate marumage topknot, requiring frequent application of oily pastes to maintain sheen and shape. These pastes, mixed by master kamiwi hairdressers, sometimes contained trace amounts of arsenic and led to preserve color and prevent spoilage. Women slathered their scalps with these oils daily, unwittingly inhaling toxic particles released as the oils warmed. Over time, they suffered scalp ulcers, hair loss, and gradual systemic poisoning manifested as chronic fatigue, diarrhea, and neurological symptoms. The apprentice hairdressers, routinely handling the same arsenical blends, also risked exposure. It was not until the Meiji Restoration's embrace of Western hygiene and simpler hairstyles that these dangerous practices finally faded into history. Finally, leap forward to 20th century America, where the ideal shifted toward a sun-kissed glow. In the Roaring Twenties, tanning salons marketed X-ray bronzing, sessions in metal-lined booths that emitted both ultraviolet rays and stray X-rays to stimulate melanin production. Patrons sat for extended periods believing that an even tan signaled health and affluence. Simultaneously, homemade lotions containing harsh chemical dyes promised instant color but caused chemical burns and systemic toxicity. Dermatologists soon noted alarming spikes in skin cancer. Melanoma rates climbed uncontrollably among avid tanners. By mid-century, public health warnings began to curb the craze. But the indoor tanning industry persisted, haunted by its legacy of radiation-induced illness. These 7 episodes of cosmetic cruelty illustrate a common thread: humanity's willingness to sacrifice well-being for the sake of perceived attractiveness. Whether through the neurotoxic gloss of lead and arsenic, the spinal distortion of steel corsetry, or the crippling confinement of bound feet, the pursuit of beauty has repeatedly overridden instinct and reason. Each dangerous practice was underpinned by powerful social incentives, status, marriage prospects, or cultural ideals that compelled individuals to accept extraordinary risks. Yet these stories also carry a cautionary message for our own era. Today's beauty trends, be they invasive cosmetic surgeries, relentless pursuit of ultra-thin bodies, or untested miracle skincare products, may one day be judged as equally misguided or even perilous. As we apply our own creams and dyes, lace up shapewear, or schedule procedures, we ought to ask, what hidden dangers lurk in the containers and instruments we embrace? Which of our modern rituals, sanctioned by social media influencers and beauty gurus, will future generations regard with disbelief and sorrow? Beauty, after all, is a mirror of cultural values. When the reflections we see demand self-harm, we must question whether the price of aesthetics is worth the toll on our bodies and our lives. If today's standards push us toward new extremes, let us remember the lessons of history's deadliest beauty trends and choose instead to celebrate health, authenticity, and self-compassion.